Hey, sportsman, John Bergsman here with another Great Lakes Insider Fishing Report, this time coming from the top of the southeast region, and that would be the Saginaw Bay and the Saginaw River area, right there out of Flint, Midland Bay City. And joined today on the phone for the first time, we're honored and proud to have as our fishing reporter here for this region, Lance Valentine, talk to us about Saginaw Bay fishing right now, mid-July.
Well, I'll tell you what, Johnny, Saginaw Bay is absolutely on fire. It is by far the best fishing I have ever seen on Saginaw Bay. You know, we've got a 13-inch minimum, 8 fish per person limit, and it's a very rare charter day that we don't handle in a 4-hour trip that we don't handle 32, 40, sometimes 50 keepers. A lot of those fish in the 15 to 19-inch range. We'll get a few in that 13 to 15-inch range that we'll keep every day. And here's the cool thing. We're getting 5, 6, sometimes 8 fish every trip over 20 inches, all the way up to 24, 25, 26 inches. So it's not just the small little 13 inches that we're putting in the box. It's a good amount of the average 15 to 19-inch fish, some bigger fish that are funner to catch and nice to see, with a few of the smaller ones mixed in. So if you got any chance or any inkling to get on Saginaw Bay, I'll tell you what, now is the time to do it because the fishing is absolutely awesome.
Yeah, and it's been building for years there, Lance, and I fielded plenty of as you know, in this industry, you get the highs and the lows. You get the people who are happy with what you're doing and the naysayers. And I've dealt with a lot of the naysayers saying, oh, we're over harvesting Saginaw Bay. We've got a too high of a limit and 13 inchers. But the truth is, Lance, you and I have seen it. Since they implemented these different regulations and were able to actually take some of those smaller fish and get some of them out of the system, it's actually opened the door. And actually this year, you're seeing a higher number of those bigger fish than you used to for the last couple of years. Am I right?
That's absolutely true. And I'll tell you the nice thing. You know, I was a naysayer at first because when they implemented the 13-inch limit, I'm like, man, oh man, I'm out here every day charter fishing and I'm not seeing any 13, 14-inch fish, And I was kind of like, yeah, I don't know if it's going to be a good deal. Right now, though, it looks like it's paid off because not only are we catching lots of fish, not only are we seeing 23, 24, 25, 26-inch fish. You got to remember, we're dealing with 80, 81, 82 degree surface temperature in the inner bay where I fish. I fish out of Linwood, so I'm still in the inner bay, and we're catching those 23, 24, 25, 26-inch fish in 81 degree water temperature. So not only are we seeing those fish stay in the inner bay, which tells me there's a lot of bait, but John, I'll tell you what, the fish we're catching are healthy. They're a nice dark color. They're fat. They fight. They're aggressive. They're whacking crankbaits. We're trolling up to, a little over 4 miles an hour. We're trolling flicker shads a lot of days, really fast, 3.5 to 4 miles an hour. And these fish are just destroying it. They are healthy. They're fat. They're aggressive. They're mean, and man, oh man, do they taste good.
And I'll tell you what, Lance, one of the other byproducts of an extremely healthy Saginaw Bay fishery from Au Gres to Caseville and into Bay City is that the huge numbers of fish have pushed also resident walleyes, pushed the limits out into Huron, that Lake Huron, I believe, actually, whether it goes shore to shore, end to end, Lake Huron actually is starting to build a base of becoming a little bit like Lake Erie, in the sense that you can go to any port on Lake Huron, and if you're an active, avid walleye fisherman and know what you're doing, you can actually go out in the open water and catch these walleyes. These fish are being pushed and starting to fill the whole system up.
Well, we saw it when the National Walleye Tour was here. The guys were running to Alpena and Harrisville, and they're jigging shallow water structure. We've got guys inshore off of Linwood. We have a group in the campground, husband and wife, that go casting every day, and they're catching their limit of nice walleye in 4, 5, 6, 7 feet of water, casting the weeds. We're trolling that 7 to 11 foot depth most days, sometimes out in 14. Occasionally we'll go out. If guys want to learn how to run lead core, we'll take them out and we'll fish 21, 22, 25 feet of water, and we're catching fish there. We just had a very successful Michigan Walleye Tour tournament out of Port Austin. So yeah, you're right. A friend of mine just went up to Oscoda to do a multi-species trip: walleye, Atlantic salmon, cohos, kings, lake trout, steelhead, all in one day, and some nice walleye. So yeah, I think with the semi-collapse of the walleye fishery on Lake Huron and this explosion of walleye in the last 3, 4 years, we've got walleye literally from the mouth of the Saginaw River all the way up to the Mackinac Bridge. And like you said, from side to side, the walleye fishing, I don't think has ever been better, more consistent, and more spread out on Saginaw Bay than I've ever seen. I've been fishing up there for 30 years, and I don't remember it ever being this good from port to port, side to side, north to south.
Yep, exactly. And one of the last things I want you to touch on is the diversity of presentation. You know, you
Yeah.
mentioned flicker shads at 3 to 4 miles an hour. I know a lot of guys who are running, whether it's a Trip Z, 10, 20, or 30 diver, a small mini disc and a little spoon, a worm burner with a crawler harness on a bottom bouncer, crawler harness on a tadpole, you name it. You can almost go out there and use any presentation as long as you have some semblance of where the fish are holding and have a lot of success.
Two things. You're right. You can catch them any way you want to catch them, but two things have stuck out. There's actually three things. Speed has been critical. We have caught more fish and more big fish the faster we've gone. Finding the right depth, not just the right depth of water, but the right depth for the fish. We're finding out that this year, I call it the box of death, where the area where you can put your baits and get bit. That is fairly small. That may be 2 or 3 foot window, so you can't miss too far with that with your presentation and have a really, really good day. And the other thing is, more than ever on Saginaw Bay, we have to pay attention to angle of attack, which way we're actually moving, because it seems like we're seeing more and more current. We're running a lot of tadpoles off the corners of our corner of the boat, and we're seeing a lot more current in the inner bay than I've ever seen. But if you pay attention to those things, yes, you can catch fish any way you want. And here's what I would caution guys, because fishing is so good. Do not come to Saginaw Bay and do what you're really good at. Now is a perfect time. If you're a worm fisherman, now is the perfect bite on Saginaw Bay to come up and learn how to run lead corn spoons at 3.5 miles an hour, because you will get bit, you will get confidence. Don't necessarily come up here doing what you already know how to do. Come up here because the fishing is so good. Come up here with the mindset that you're going to learn a presentation that you don't know, because you will get bit, you will learn confidence, you will learn how to run a new presentation, and then when you need it somewhere else down the road, you've got it. Get up here, enjoy this great fishing, learn a new technique, and absolutely take advantage of the great fishing we have.
I got you. Lance, so much for joining the team here at Fisherman's Digest with these fishing reports and being willing to educate our listeners and to keep them abreast of Saginaw Bay fishing. I know for a fact, having been an avid fisherman there for the last 30 years, that you're going to be doing reports all the way into December until it gets too cold to go out on your boat. But we look forward to this reports. We'll talk to you in a couple of weeks, Lance. Thanks so much. And for those listening to this report, you'll see Lance's contact information down in the lower part of your screen, and give Lance a call. Like I say, he may, like all of our charter captains, they're very likely booked, but when he starts to get openings, that's really the time you want to be on Lance's boat. That October, November, December, early December time frame, that's when you get the biggest and best fish. Lance, thank you so much.
All right, JB, I'll talk to you soon.
You bet. Talk to you, buddy. So just to recap quickly, Lance was pretty thorough, as he always is, but we're going to show you a couple of little things. Now, this is a little Dreamweaver mini disc. It's not a big mag one that you'd use for salmon fishing, but it's a smaller one. Again, no lip. So that single unibody construction means that if you bump into the bottom or tick off the bottom, you're not going to knock that lip loose. Pay close attention when you're walleye fishing to really taking the time to get the right adjustment on your release. Walleye fish, 13, 14, 15 inches, they're not always going to blow a release like a king salmon or a lake trout. Another really cool thing is this little Trip Z diver. Now, a lot of people like jets, and the reason they like jets is that this little mini disc sinks. The Trip Z, being filled with air, floats. So it's a speed initiated dive thing. It's right in the offshore, not offshore, but the dive curve is right on the back. You'll see exactly right there how much line to let out, of what pound test to achieve what depth, and that's really helpful, and it allows you to put these spoons that Shane and the crew make over there. These tiny little spoons. Now, this is a grape ape. This is a nice little Dreamweaver spoon. When the fishing's like it is right now in bonsai, you can just put this on like a 4 to 6 foot fluorocarbon lead, maybe a 15-pound lead. right behind a Trip Z or this mini disc, and you're going to catch a ton of fish. Now, if the bite slowed, if it was slower, you're going to Lake Erie, or you wanted to go ahead and introduce live bait, the worm burner is a great opportunity for that. It comes with a little harness on the back. It's got a little hook and a treble hook. You just nose hook a crawler, stretch it out, barrel hook that crawler right through the treble. Go ahead and pull this same way, either behind this, a Trip Z, and another great option is the tadpole. Offshore's tadpole is an awesome way to present this. These will run great all the way to 2.25 miles an hour, which makes the worm burner an awesome option over a spinner at some circumstances, because like you heard Lance say, sometimes speed has gotten bigger fish, and so the worm burner lets you go a little faster. If you're out in the open water on Saginaw, let's say outside the Charities, the Super Slim is going to give you a great opportunity to catch not only, here I'll show you, this is one of my favorite Super Slims for walleye and trout in Saginaw Bay. It's also going to catch a steelhead. A Super Slim on a mini disc or a mag disc. And also don't forget, when in doubt, a UV can always be your best option. So again, Saginaw Bay is on fire. Everything from crankbaits, worm harnesses, divers and spoons, and bottom mounters and spinners. Get to Saginaw Bay. Get there and fish this year. You'll experience fishing like you've never experienced it before. Hey, thanks for joining us today on the Great Lakes Insider Fishing Report. We'll see you again in a week or two here out of the Saginaw Bay region.